So in the Hub console, we were going to have exports and imports, right? So export is pretty simple. We can just go ahead, use the CMX and just save it. And wherever we want to go ahead and put that particular file, we'll just always use the date for that. And it will export each and everything for us. So right now our schema and all the configurations are less, so it took that much less time. In many cases, I have seen this thing run for 2.5 hours as well, just because of the configurations. Okay, so import we cannot do, we'll be doing the promote part. So you can see on the desktop, I have just now as a .change file. And if you want to go ahead and view it, you can view that in. And this is what we'll be seeing. Okay. So I already have earlier export, so that I can go ahead and showcase how it will look like if there would be any new table or any new changes would be there, then how it will be looking for us. So we'll always use visual. We don't use change list because a change list will be with multiple different things and you'll just go ahead and do everything in one shot. Then it's a different case altogether. So we always use visual. We select the file repository. I'll use this one because if I take this one, then there won't be any changes which will be there. So I'll use this. Okay. And over here in the target, I will use CMXORS. So there would be differences over here. So you can see whenever there would be a difference, you'll see these signs. Okay. Now, first thing is we don't, for in the very early stage, we always use import. That is clear, right? Now, in this, if there is a star over here, which means it is extra in this particular part, and over here, it is not there. Okay. And anything which is having this sign, which means it's a update. It's a change in these two configurations. Okay. Second thing, what we need to go ahead and do first is base objects. Every single time we'll be going ahead and we'll be doing, first thing would be base object. In base object, we always go ahead and do parent base objects, which is lookup tables. Then second would be child base objects, which is if there is any dependent lookup, and or I would say main parent table or parent base object. Then we use the remaining tables. Once those are done, then we go ahead and do landing tables. Once landing tables are done, then we use mappings. Once mappings are done, then we use cleanse function. But if there is any cleanse function which is utilized in mapping, then this particular part will come like this. After mapping, we go ahead and do queries. Then packages. Once these are done, then we'll use hierarchy. Once hierarchies are done, then over here our main objects, main things are completed. Then we use secure resources from SAM securities. Only secure resources we move, nothing else. We never use anything else. In SAM securities, we only go ahead and use secure resources. Because secure resources, if you have any base object which is created newly, if you move them, they will be moved as private resource. So we have to move them as secure. So this configuration will update that particular private to secure. Okay. After you have done this particular part, then we use business entity and business entity service configuration. After this, we use component instance. After component instance, we use business entity saved queries. So this is what a particular segment is. How do we go ahead and migrate? Now, how do we migrate them? If you want, I can just put it into text. This is the actual sequence, how we go ahead and do that. Now over here, if you have the same table name, okay, so what do we do? You can see over here, there are address type, line 1, line 2, then there is a state, there is pin code, there is landmark, and so on and so on. So if there is exactly same, you will be facing these things multiple times. So whenever we go ahead, promote these things, we use the first option to promote. And over here, we use merge, and in merge, we use the source value as final result. Source value means if there are any new attributes that will be only added over here. It will not delete the values or delete the column names. We use this for how many things? For your first two things, your base objects part and your SAM securities. This is where you go ahead and use source value as the final result. For all the other things, because there are no data which will be stored over there, that is only configuration. Whenever you replace it, the target objects will be dropped and their data will be lost. So for this particular purpose, we use it for the entire other things other than any base object. Because in base object, you can have all the entity objects as well. Whereas in hierarchies, you will only have the profile entity objects. This will be already been shifted once you will be shifting the base object. So these things will not be there. Only what you have to go ahead and move, hierarchies or profiles. These are the things which you will be moving in. And for these purpose, you can go ahead and use the replace, but better to utilize for hierarchies also, you can utilize the source as target. So why do we use a replace, or where do we use replace? We use a replace functionality where there is no data associated, just like cleanse function, landing table, mappings, queries, packages, business entity services, component instances, or any saved query. There is no data, it's only configuration. So that is how we utilize. So once, let's say, we'll go ahead and just push this contact table. But for contact, it will be going ahead and creating a party, but no issues. So we'll just go ahead and do this promote. So we'll just go ahead, use the source. If there would be any kind of things which will be there, it will give us what all things will be created. We'll just state okay. So once that is done, you'll see over here as well. But it has not been applied yet. It is just migrated. It is still temporary. For migration to be successful, we use apply. So once we do apply changes, we'll see these two things. We always use full rollback. So until and unless we are seeing any issues, there won't be any data which will be changed or which will be permanent. It will roll back the entire stuff which we promoted, so that we don't have to focus on what is being promoted, where we are seeing issues and all those things. So that's why we use full rollback. Rollback to last change. So until any error comes in, it will be permanent, and it will only stop where there would be an issue, and only that particular table or that particular configuration will be skipped. Otherwise, all those others will not be skipped. So we always use, that's why we always use full rollback. We just click OK. And at the end, data integrity, yes, for sure. So it will just go ahead and validate the entire stuff if that has been correct or not. So that is how we go ahead and do promotions. So in this, you can see that we just moved only a single table. So that is how we use it for single setups as well. So if you want to go ahead and check it out, let's go ahead, select the CMX ORS, and you will see BO contact is being moved over here with everything. All the columns, staging table, and everything. Okay. I don't know why we will actually go ahead and create status as unique. Only 2 records will be there, or maximum 3 records can be there. But that's how people actually create, and many times they'll go into an issue. We are not able to insert more records, or we are getting an error. Yeah, you will get, because you have put a unique constraint over there. So that is one way. Second thing is roles. So how do we create roles? Acquire the lock. I was actually acquiring a lock, not the exclusive one. So acquire the lock, right click, add a role, name the role. And once you name it, you'll see according to this. So there are 2 ways to give privileges. Either you go ahead and give privileges one by one in cleanse function, these and these and these. Okay. Or else you can just go ahead and give from either over here. So all these things will directly get the access. Second way is to give nested rules. What do you mean by nested rules? Let's say we go ahead, we create a read-only user, which will only have read and execute. That's it. Nothing else will be there. So if read and execute we have given, and the other person needs to have a create and update as well. Nothing else. So we can utilize that particular role and we can state, okay, this particular role we need to at least these roles and more we need. So let's just see over here. You can see manager is there. If I just go ahead and uncheck the manager, what will happen? Let's see. All the read has been gone. If I'm selecting this one from the manager, it is getting these rules. Okay. If I'll go ahead and change anything in the manager, let's say I am not giving the cleanse function. So I just removed it. I'll save it. So this is what it will happen. The users automatically it went out. So that is a good thing as well as a bad thing. Why? Because if we are going with a nested rule, we need to keep in mind that any changes if we are doing in the parent role, that same thing will be reflected in child as well. So once the privileges and all those things are being done, users are added over there, over here. So these groups are AD groups or Active Directory groups if we are utilizing the LDAP functionality. So we always go ahead and create over here those groups, and these are the users in the database. And if we have to assign, we just click over here, we click on edit, and we can go ahead and assign any user over here. So if I'll just give over here, so that will be added over here. So over here, I'm assigning roles to the user or users to those roles. And over here, it's the opposite. I can assign a particular user to as many roles as I want. So that is what roles and privileges is there. So first thing is how to go ahead and get started with any of the SIF packages. And why do we use SOAP? I'll just showcase you. We always go with cmx/cs files. So if you go with CS files, you'll see those visuals over here. So directly go ahead, copy the link address. Once this is installed, I'll just showcase you what will happen. I don't need tutorials, only this one. So it will give us a starting point. How can we go ahead and have soaps to be created? And for REST calls, we always go for MDM 10.4 REST calls. And this is all the REST API calls you can directly get. It will open up the entire page for us where not this one. This is online help. This is documents. Yep. So you can see all the API calls are over here. So these many functionalities we directly have. So how to get started? These are REST calls, and the ones which I'm actually showcasing from over here, this will be added directly into the projects kind of a thing, but it will be utilized as a SOAP functionality. These are REST calls. Why the SOAP here? If it is starting, it takes time. New SOAP project directly. Just initiate the wisdom, which we just took from there. It will directly come over here, creates the test suite, and this one. It will directly go ahead and give us all the files. It will load entire definitions from there. You can see. What all things you want to go at. Test suite is to create single or one operation each, use existing, or to create empty. We'll go ahead and create empty and just click OK. So it will go ahead and create a test suite for us. That is why 99% of Informatica developers use SOAP UI, because this particular part is not there in Postman. This one is SOAP finding, and this is the test. Anything you open, let's say we'll just open a read entity. It will showcase us the entire stuff which is there. What all things are optional, it will just go ahead and give you as optional. Else it will just say how many things or what all things needs to be there. So over here you are seeing URN and URN1, right? So all these URN, and there is a CIF. In ActiveOS we use CIF. Apart from this URN, we use CIF over there in place of URN. So it's basically either you use URN or you use CIF. You cannot use both in a single call. This URN parameters key we don't need to. We need to go ahead. If it is no authentication, add authentication. So all those things will be needed. System key, base objects and all. For the rest calls, we'll just go over here. Anything, let's say reader record, this simple thing. So you can just directly go ahead, use a sample API, and from sample API, you'll get the entire list. So if you want to use directly, so this local system till over here, it will be same. Just this local host will be changed to your domain and the port. This will be same. This is your database ID or ORS ID, where you can get the ORS ID. ORS ID is always over here. This is your ORS ID. This is your business entity, and this is your row ID object. So all these are the samples which you can utilize it for. So let's say we'll just utilize for get, and we change it over there. From person, we'll say party, because we have the same thing for party. It's with capital P, right? So we have to use exactly the same. This is our ORS ID. So we'll just go over here, copy and paste. And these things are good. So we need to have a get call. So we'll just say, it's during the MDM hub did not respond to the business entity. Why? Okay, we don't have credentials. My bad. And we got the article. No record found with that particular key. So we can just go ahead and check the row ID objects. So anything can be done from over here. Any sample request. If we have to create a record, we can go over here, sample API, and the same will be done. So it will be the post. What would be the system name, task comments, and if there is any attachments, so we just need to have the system name. So we'll just go over here. We'll just say party, system name, others we don't need. It would be a post, and content type would be application as JSON. So we'll use post, and over here it would be content type application JSON, and we'll just put the entire JSON file, which is being shifted over here, but we'll use the party. So how many fields are there from our side? First name, last name, registry ID, and status. So these are there. So we'll use these things in this one. This item set is utilized for child tables. So accordingly, we'll go ahead and use it. So that is how SIF calls are being done. If you want to go ahead and use the SOAP calls, then in the guide itself, you can find out SOAPs. And in that, all these, like over here, it has been written. In that same way, you'll be having SOAP calls as well. So you'll just say all the requests and response, everything will be. So you'll get those calls and authentication methods and everything. Everything will be over here. API reference. But you'll get most things you will be getting in a REST calls as like this API requests and everything. You will not see any of the SOAP calls with examples. So that is what is there. So basically business entity does what? That's why it is named as business entity services.
But for this, an API call is really necessary to go through business entity. This is something like to make a visibility in the, I mean, in entity 360 only, right? So for an API call, it doesn't really matter, right? Even if you're making some changes to business entity, it will be reflecting back in BO table, right?
Correct. So these are actually utilized by third-party application. It is not utilized by UI or for us. It is utilized by a third party every time.
Mm. Right.
Okay. Because let's say we have to go ahead and clean the entire tables, right? So for cleaning the data, we always use SOAP UI for cleaning, right? So for that, either over here it will be directly being given. If over here it is not been given, then we always go ahead and use from over there itself, like the SIF calls are there, right? Staging tables, truncate and all. Reference API listing. So all these are there. So execute, delete, everything is there. Yes, for 10.3, you can also take it for 10.4 and 10.4 HF3 as well. We have all those areas. Either we can use truncate in the Oracle API. This delete is utilized for deleting the records. BO records, how we can go ahead and do that. It's all the API calls, API requests, basically. If we have to execute any batch or anything like that, we can go ahead and do all those things. How many ORS are there? We can use get ORS list. Basically, this is utilized by functions or Java functions. The same can be utilized by SOAP APIs as well. So all those are also there. So these are majorly used when we are creating the user exit SIF. And when we say about SOAP API or the SOAP calls, we can have those as well. So if you want this one for having the JavaScript or user exit, you can utilize this. For REST APIs, you can utilize directly this particular link for 10.4. And they have a bad way because even if I'm clicking over here, the entire stuff is going over there. I have to go ahead and do over here. Even if you click anything anywhere over here in this particular entire block, you have to be clicking this. That's why it's a little bit hard when we go ahead and search something because it will go ahead and mess up every single time. So you will be back and forth multiple times. See over here. So if it basically they have gone ahead and put a table over here, so it's a little bit not good whenever we go ahead and do any kind of things over here. This delete record will be utilizing either we want to go ahead and purge, then we will utilize the purge. Delete will be utilizing which particular source system we have to go ahead and delete. If you just state this till this part, it will just go ahead and send the case. So it is post. We can go ahead and use delete. Say one. We have this. Give me a second. So this is the endpoint.
So there should be some place, right, where we will be changing that particular action here.
Yeah, so everything is coming over here. So they have a WSDL. So from the WSDL, they can use a SOAP call or a REST call according to their own need. And that is how we go ahead and do. Because you can see over here, this is the entire same thing. It's the database name, it's the ORS ID for SOAP and REST. Basically, this is for
Okay.
REST. And if we take anything from over here, that will be from the SOAP. This is the SOAP. You can see BES service
Okay.
and the localhost.
So the action or I mean,
Action every
what
time it
we need
would
to
be
do
over
that
here.
particular action.
Right, action would be over here, and in the SOAP, in the SOAP, it would be stated over here itself. Get source systems.
Okay. 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 Got it. So the other page you showcase, right? I mean, that link for that endpoint.
Yeah, the endpoint is
Okay. So
CMX
yeah,
CS
here this one
files.
only.
So it would
Okay.
be
And this
just
entire
domain
thing.
name. I can just put it down for you guys like domain column port slash CMX slash CS. That would be, it should be port actually, not ports. So domain colon port slash
Okay.
CMX slash CS files. Once you go over here, all the ORS which you have, both ORS will be showcased over here in a separate sections.
Hmm.
REST base,
Okay.
XSD, if somebody wants to go ahead and check, these are the REST base XSDs. The entire stuff is over here.
Okay. Hmm.
Basically, you just go ahead, right click over here, copy the link address, go over here. Basically, you'll just go ahead, you'll just directly get. I don't want the test suite to be created, it would be just that. It will directly go ahead and ask me for getting the entire stuff from there for authentication as well, so that it can create all the sample requests for me. Content is not allowed. So basically, the admin which I sent out, there might be some issue in the sample wise. There might be some errors over there. If we'll just go ahead. So if there is nothing, it is going ahead and we are not able to check, or that is not able to import, always go and validate. You will see errors. If there are no errors, that means you will be able to grab all the visual file. It's pretty simple with that. So if you have errors, you will not be able to get that. From the backend where this particular thing is installed, so you will have this address install directory slash MDM slash hub slash server slash log slash CMX server dot log. This is one log file which is always first checked. There is an install directory wherever your MDM has been installed, then there would be a MDM folder in that. then there would be a hub folder in that, then there would be a server folder in that, and in that there would be a logs folder. Okay, so our MDM hub, basically it's not been coming up. Great. So there is some issue. That's why it was not working as expected. So that is the place. And second place is what any application server or the hosting server which we have gone ahead and have. Over here we have JBoss, otherwise WebLogic or anything which is there. You'll just go into the server, whatever your server name is. Then you'll go into the logs. Then you'll find a application server log as it's basically different in WebLogic and different in JBoss. So there would be a main server log. It would be more than 10 to 15 MBs. So you just grab that and you see in that particular cleanse server. So those are the two logs which we mostly go ahead and see. So if there would be any error, there would be a caps error, and then it would be stated all the issues which has been listed down. And over here, if you can see, I do not have the access where it is being installed. That's it. And we don't have where MDM is being installed. Not even in the program files. Not even in program files presets. So there is nothing where it has been installed. So I have less idea where they have installed at this time. If I would have, then I would have actually showcased you. This is just the installer. It's not SQL, which has already been installed. So you cannot directly go ahead and get where they have installed it. These logs are something else. It's the Windows logs. It's not for us. Sorry, you are actually going ahead and stating something. I missed it.
No, I was just asking for the cleanse server log path. So is it that still that MDM hub, then cleanse server? Was that you mentioned?
Yeah, so it would be this. It would be application server, whatever your server name is. Like let's say you are going ahead and working with WebLogic. So there would be the installable directory. Install directory, then you will be going ahead and in the server which will be created, the server name. Then slash, there would be a server name that it's basically cleanse, then logs, then there would be a cleanse.log would be the file, or there would be cleanse log dot nothing would be there. So it's basically an empty text file, but the txt format will not be there. It would be a dat format. So those will be the logs for you to go ahead and see if there is any cleanse server issue. But for the best part is you go over here in the network diagram and any issue which you are getting, you just run your again, and over here you will see the red marks, and over here you will be able to see what will be the exact error which is going on in the logs. So over here we can see errors if there are any errors over here.